As Shido slowly got out of the water, helping Toka back to her feet, Toka was not too much in a happy mood. For one, she had been whiplashed from where she just was and had been slammed into the ocean. If it wasn't for her being a spirit, that probably could have resulted in her losing her head. And Shido, well, he had no idea how to control his powers. If she had the right mind, she'd want to take his head off. However, the boy seemed to have incredible speed, so that would be easier said than done. Of course, Shido needed all the help he could get, and thanks to Kotori and Rotatasker, he was able to do just so, by offering Toka a date. However, the girl had no idea what a date was, as, being a spirit and all, she had never gone on such a date. However, it seemed that it would placate the boy, and if it was a way of him making amends, then she would agree. However, she still did not change her cold demeanor towards him. For a little bit of reference in our story, this version of Toka, if you've ever been familiar with inverse Toka, Toka is simply inverse Toka 24/7. There is no switching of the personalities from her being cold and angry to happy and docile. No, instead this is more of a balance between the two. And Toka, while she would want Shido to make it up to her, was very clear that if things didn't go to her satisfaction, she would cut his head off. And Shido felt this, as Toka would immediately disappear. Eventually, Shido would find himself back on Fraxinus, as doctors and other members of staff were looking over him, and then a man in a wheelchair would make his way into the room. His name was Dr. Harrison Wells. He was part of the science division for Rotatasker. Aboard Fraxinus, his lab was known as Star Labs. He was the head leader in terms of making their tech and going off of any data that he was given, whether it be technology-wise or if it came to the spirits themselves. However, Shido was a fascinating case. The boy was already being scouted to be recruited mainly because of his ability to seal spirit power. But now he had this speed about him. As such, many tests were done to see just what Shido was capable of. He outran a treadmill and ended up breaking it. His reflexes were pretty renowned, even though he didn't have a good idea of what he was doing. He had the reflexes to dodge, but it was about getting his brain to move as fast as he was, or he had to learn to think a lot faster. He could move pretty decently fast for someone of his caliber. So, our boy's a speedster or something? You could say that, Miss Kotori. Well, Dr. Wells, what exactly are we supposed to do with this? We didn't really plan for my brother gaining powers in the process. No, we did not. But, I can't say it's a bad thing, no. What do you mean? Well, just think about it. The situation between that spirit, the princess, and the AST, it could have gotten a lot worse if Shido hadn't gotten her out of there so fast. With his kind of speed, he could react to anything at a moment's notice. He could get to the spirits before the AST can. I hadn't really thought about that. But you're actually right. Reina, what do you think about this? I'd have to agree with the doctor. It makes all logical sense. If Shido has the speed to get to the spirits before the AST, it also means that he can get to the spirits before they cause any damage, like a spatial quake. In all likelihood, Shido might be just what we've been looking for. And this power that he's gained, it's absolutely perfect for our overall goals. If he can learn to control the speed, then he can prevent a lot of disasters, not just against spatial quakes, but against many other threats that this world might be subject to. This now had everyone in thought. Of course, Shido's job was always going to be to seal the spirit's power, but now he had a new power at hand, one that could serve all of humanity in an even greater way. Now it was time to see what he could do with it. As such, time for obligatory training. Not just date training, but also speed training. Or, as Kotori called it, Operation Speed Dating. Shido would have to learn to do things simultaneously. Studying for dates, learning how to get women to like him of all kinds, as well as learning to control his speed. Shido learned that he retained information a lot faster and a lot longer. That could only be a benefit. It all started when he had to study for homework. He found himself speed reading through the book unintentionally, and in less than a few seconds, he had already finished it. He already had the information in his brain, although he didn't comprehend it all right away. But after 2 or 3 more quick reads, he pretty much got all the information that he needed. Wow, so you're like a speed knowledge demon or something. You think so, Kotori? I mean, I still had to go through it more than once. That's not the point. You went through that book almost 3 times in less than, 15, 20 seconds max? And you're able to comprehend what you're reading? Well, that's truly a game changer, bro. I think it's more of circumstance than anything else. So what exactly am I supposed to do on this date? Well, it's obvious. You've got to seal that spirit's power. And how do I do that? With a kiss. That was the one thing Shido was not expecting. The spirits, the crazy powers, all of that he could take in stride. But getting a girl to kiss him, well, that was a different story altogether. Not that he was against it or anything. Toka was a cute girl. He wouldn't mind kissing her at all. But the boy didn't have confidence in that area. No, Shido, for all the things he did gain, when it came to his luck with girls, well, that was something easier said than done. Although he was going to have to learn to do it one way or another. The day of the date finally arrived, and for starters, Shido thought that everything seemed fine. He had even been gifted a special suit that would help him if he had to use his speedster powers. Although Shido was a bit against it at first, mainly because he didn't think he needed to dress up as anything special to use his speed powers. However, Kotori thought that was just a precaution. After all, he didn't want his clothes burning off every time he used his speed powers. He might be able to use his speed safely, but still everything that's on him might end up getting torched. So they came up with a suit that will allow him to use his speed all in well. It was red with shades of yellow. Yellow boots to be specific. Although why they come up with that color scheme, it was Kotori and Dr. Wells' idea. Actually, Dr. Wells was the one responsible for the design. An all-red suit made out of a special type of leather that would conduct his speed, as well as a mask that came along with it, with little yellow bolts on either side of his head, and a lightning bolt symbol on the chest. All in all, Shido didn't mind the suit, although at the same time it might be a little complicated to put on at the moment, as he was carrying it around in a backpack, but that was something they'd fix soon enough, hopefully. For now, the only thing he had to focus on was his date with Toka. And for starters, it seemed to be going rather well. She had arrived and she was actually dressed normally, in fact, in one of his school's uniforms. The one thing that Toka had drawn and gotten a love for was food. And Shido could actually appreciate this. For some reason, ever since he got his speed powers, his metabolism had gone off the charts. The good doctor had surmised that it was probably due to all of the energy he burned off when he ran. Because of this, Ratasker made sure to fill up Shido's wallet extra thick so that they could enjoy a nice meal. A meal that somehow devolved into an eating contest, as both he and Toka didn't want to be outdone by the other, and they found themselves shoveling as much food as they could eat. However, little did the two of them know that things were about to get hectic really, really fast. So far, the meal and everything else was going relatively well for the both of them. That was until they looked out the window of the restaurant and saw someone standing from across the street. It was a young man, probably about the same age as Shido, given from his look. He had on what appeared to be a winter coat, and what looked like what was in his hand, a gun. His hair was shaved and he was wearing goggles. Shido looked up from his plate as he saw the young gun-wielding shaved-haired boy holding the gun at the mirror pointed right at their direction. Shido would move Toka out of the way instantly, his reflexes proving to be effective, the two of them dodging as a shot beam of ice would come flying at their direction, instantly destroying the glass and freezing over their table and their food. Toka was not happy about this at all, and she stood angered and ready to fight. Shido would instantly use his speed and quickly change into his costume, as he told Toka to get out of here. "I will do no such thing. He interrupted my feast, and he will pay. Toka, you can't fight him." "Why not? Is there a reason? He doesn't seem all that strong." "That's not the point. He's a human." "So, are you not a human?" "No, Toka, you're a spirit. If you kill a human, then that's going to lead to a lot of trouble." "But he started it." As they continued on in their conversation, it would be interrupted as the gun-wielding maniac got closer. "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting something?" "Here, let me help you out." He pointed his gun at them once again, and Toka would be forced to dodge. Shido as well, as he went running towards the gun-wielding maniac, grabbing him by the collar and forcing him against the wall. "Alright, that's enough of that. Just who the hell are you? And what do you want?" What I want? What I want will be arriving in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. The young man pointed to his left, and off on the horizon was a battalion of AST soldiers, with their guns drawn and the girls ready for combat. But it wasn't really Toka they were focused on. It was the boy in the coat. "Attention! Leonard Snart. You are under arrest by authority of the AST. Put the weapon down and surrender yourself, or we will be forced to use lethal methods against you." "Oh yeah, I was counting on it. Hey, hold this for me, would ya?" The young man threw something at Shido. Shido had no idea what it was, until he heard another voice. It sounded like origami. She told him to drop what he was holding. As Shido got a closer look, he realized, "Oh crap, it's a grenade!" Shido threw the grenade and tried to get away. However, as he ran, his back would be caught in frostbite, causing him to fall to the ground. However, the young gunman had gotten what he had wanted, as the AST soldiers came to his direction. He held up his gun towards them as they went firing, his ice beams also causing a large disruption as multiple buildings started to be blasted through with ice. The members of the AST had no idea of what was going on. How did Snart do it? He wasn't supposed to have the powers of the hermit. From what they had told, the experiment had gone awry, and he was said to have been a failed subject. So how on earth was he able to use ice powers? However, in their confusion, Snart took to taking them out relatively quickly. However, the one thing he wasn't counting on was a sword that was coming his way. Thankfully, he dodged at the right time, and it was Toka, and she was not too thrilled. As Shido slowly tried to get back to his feet, his back feeling as though it were burning but cold at the same time. "Toka!" "Huh, so that's your name, princess. You know, You and I could have been compatible. I do not know what you mean, but I know you will pay for your disrespect. Oh, well, I think maybe you should chill out. He shot a beam of ice directly towards Toka, who blocked it with her sword. Origami now had to step in. 2 targets that needed to be taken down. Origami, Snart, and now Toka were now caught in a 3-way deadlock, and Shido had to try to break it up as fast as he could, as more AST agents were on the way. In the midst of the fighting and the chaos, Snart went to a few of the frozen soldiers that had been taken down, as he broke through the ice relatively quickly, grabbing some of the gadgets that they had on them. They would do for what he was planning on taking, among them being one of their specially made guns. Oh yeah, this is the upgrade I'm looking for. Drop it, Snart! Origami would yell. You have no authorization to hold that. Oh, well, that may be, but you have no authorization to hold onto your head if you don't dodge what's coming in 3, 2, 1. Origami just barely had time to get away as a sword went swinging at her direction. You're the ones that just don't seem to ever want to stop. Well, no matter. I'll just get rid of all of you. Nope, not happening. Shido would run instantly between them all, knocking everyone to the ground. Okay, I have no idea what's going on. You with the ice gun, you need to chill. You, white-haired lady, need to just stop shooting at everyone you see. And you, Toka, for God's sakes, put away the sword. I will do no such thing, and if you act aggressively against me again, this sword will be coming for you. But I don't want to hear it. Okay, I've gotten what I needed, so I'll be seeing you all off now. Bye-bye. What? You're not going anywhere! Shido would rush towards Snart instantly. However, before he could even get close to him, multiple ice grenades would fall from his coat. Shido, seeing this, and seeing everyone that was down, knew that he had to act as fast as possible. Using his speed, he would grab everyone and get them out of the way, as multiple shards of ice went flying in every direction, as a massive glacier of ice appeared in the middle of the street, with the ice gun user seemingly disappearing in the process. Oh, brother, you've gotta be kidding. Shido would relax as he went deep into the tub of hot water. In the ship of Refraxinus, everyone was trying to debrief on the situation. Shido getting a chance to warm up after being exposed to sub-zero temperatures, and Toka as well, as she needed to, unironically, cool down after the situation. Although she wasn't really too happy about it either. As for Kotori, Renee, as Dr. Wells, they were trying to figure out just who this ice gun user was, and what he could possibly be after. As Shido joined them, after enjoying a nice hot sauna, he would look up at the screens as all the information they could get had finally come up. His name is Leonard Snart. It says here that he's age 15, like you, brother. Oh yeah? Well, I don't know too many other 15-year-olds who have capabilities of using ice weapons. Just where the heck did this guy come from? And why was he after us? That's the thing. Looking back at the camera footage, I don't think he was after you at all. We saw that he was taking some tech from those AST soldiers he took down. I think he attacked you guys to draw them out. Okay, but if he was just trying to attack the AST, then why go after us? The AST aren't that easy to go after, bro. In all likelihood, he probably figured out about you and Toka, and knowing that the AST weren't too far away, he just caused an attack to provoke them to come out and get what he wanted. I understand. But what on earth could he have possibly have wanted from the AST? He stole some of their equipment, a gun in particular. Looking at the weapon he was using, it looked like it was just haphazardly thrown together. Still, if that's the case, the fact that he could make something just out of scrap and have it be that effective is an understatement. But we have a bigger issue. What's the bigger issue? Shido would ask. If he knows about spirits and about the AST, then that means we have someone who's acting as a rogue. A rogue? Yeah. Someone who's not on the side of the AST, but he's not on the side of Ratasker either. A rogue is what we like to call it. A wild card. There's no telling just who he truly is or what he's going to be after. Well, what information do we have on him? Well, not much. He was a typical child, ended up leaving after his mother's death and his abusive father was sent to jail, lived with his grandfather for a while until he eventually passed, and he seemingly disappeared at the age of 12, although where he's been for the last few years no one would know. He's not registered or enrolled in any schools, and he hasn't shown up anywhere until today. So where's he been for all that time? We have no way of knowing, but for now, we're going to have to be prepared in case he comes back. You mean when he comes back? Yeah, that ice gun of his, it's really effective. It was throwing me off. Ice may seem to be what slows you down. You've never actually had to use your speed in any elemental weather, now have you? No, not really. Although I didn't think that something like ice could be effective. No, but he seems to know what he's doing with it. You're going to want to be careful when you're facing against him, Shido. Something like that could be very dangerous for someone like you. Your speed power, it gets slowed down when you're shot with that ice. Even from what we could see when you were hit in the back, it slowed you down a great deal. Enough that he was able to get off more shots. And between his ice gun and those ice grenades, there's no telling what else he might have up his sleeve. So, you best stay on your guard when you're around him. Shido would nod in understanding, and he would ask about Toka and her whereabouts. Although, speaking of Toka, there would be a loud crash going all throughout Fratness. As Shido and everyone else quickly rushed over to see what was happening, Toka, now finally having a chance to calm down, was only all the more angered at that ice gun guy, as she called it. And the next time she saw him, she was going to make sure that he paid. Shido would try to calm her down, although she wasn't having it. That is, until he promised to get her more food. At the hearing of more food, well, she actually seemed quite delighted. Although, she still kept her rather cold-like exterior. She doesn't have ice powers, and yet she can be just as cold as anything. Kotori? Yeah, treat yourselves to something nice. Kotori would reach into her pocket and just pull out a wad of money. Shido was gonna need it. Following another hefty dinner, Shido would find himself walking home. Toka seemed to be appeased for now, although still he wondered more about that ice gun guy. Why was he picking a fight with the AST? They were supposed to be defending humanity from the spirits, so they shouldn't be anyone's enemy in particular. It was starting to rain as Shido walked past one of the local shrines. As he did so, he saw a young girl huddled up. He walked over towards her and asked if she were okay. The young girl, wearing green boots along with a white dress and a green coat, with a little hoodie with an animal motif on it. On her left hand, there appeared to be a hand puppet. It looked like that of a bunny, although one of its eyes was made to be an eye patch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't be here for too long.
No, it's fine. It's a public shrine. I was just wondering if you were okay. You seemed as though you were lost.
Oh no, I was just told to wait here.
Is something wrong?
Oh, no need to worry about it, stranger. She's just been told not to talk to anyone that looks suspicious. Isn't that right, Yoshino? Yeah, I know Yoshinan, but even still...
You know, if you're in trouble, I can help you. It's no problem.
You want to help? Well, do we have a hero, or don't we?
I didn't know you were a ventriloquist.
Ventriloquist? No, this is my friend, Yoshinan. At your service there. How are ya?
The puppet reached out its hand, and Shido would kindly shake it, before introducing himself as Shido. He asked more about them, wondering why they'd be here in the dark all alone. However, he'd quickly get his answer, as the next thing he heard was a loud crackle of energy, and then suddenly he found himself frozen solid. As he fell to the ground, Yoshino would cower back a bit in fear, but she knew exactly who it was.
Why did you do that? He wasn't bad.
Trust me, we can't take any chances with him, kid. But don't worry, I'm gonna take care of it. Everything's gonna be fine.
Yep, you can always trust Big Brother Leo. Okay.
Now, let's go somewhere more secure. Shido would slowly awaken. He couldn't move his body, but he could barely move his head. He felt cold, as if he had been dropped in the middle of the Arctic. Don't worry, kid. You're not dead. Not yet, at least. Where am I? Where is not important. The voice would slowly step into the light. You're the guy in the... Yep. Leonard Snart, at your service. He pulled up a chair and sat down in front of Shido, who was still stuck in ice, save for his head being free. You and I are going to talk, and you're going to answer my questions. And depending on how you answer, well, that'll determine whether or not you live to see the sunrise. What? What are you talking? I'll be asking the questions. So tell me, are you a part of the AST?
What?
I'll ask you again, are you a part of the AST? You have 5, 4, 3, 2... No, I'm not. I'm not a part of the AST. Okay. Now I think you're finally starting to catch on. So what exactly do you know about me? Why exactly were you following me?
I wasn't following you. I just saw that girl and...
Oh. So first you're hanging around one spirit, and then you just magically find another. Forgive me if I don't believe in coincidences.
Spirit? What are you talking...
Oh, don't play dumb with me. You know very well that Yoshino is a spirit. She's the hermit.
The hermit?
I've never... Don't tell me you've never heard of it. Especially when you've been hanging around with the princess.
Look, okay, I know a spirit, but I didn't know she was a spirit, really.
Alright. I don't think you're lying, but still, I'm not gonna take any chances, so forgive me if I still don't believe you.
Why? Why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this? Well, to put it plainly, the AST crossed me. And I'm not the type of person that likes to be crossed, so You can say this is just good old-fashioned revenge.
Revenge? You put innocent lives at risk because of revenge?
Don't talk like you know me. You really don't. And that AST? They've got the public fooled, but I'm not one of them. Trust and believe. The AST, it's all corrupt, one way or another. Even Ratasker can't be trusted.
Ratasker?
Yeah. I assume that's the organization you work with.
And what if I do?
Then you truly are a fool if you don't even know what's going on. Ratasker and the AST, they may seem to be on two different sides, but I promise you, it just seems that way.
Ratasker's trying to save the spirits.
That might be true, but do you know why? I'll be honest, I don't even know why myself, but you can't help but wonder. I've already seen the dark side of what an organization involving the spirits can be capable of. So, doesn't it make you wonder? What's Ratasker's goal? What are they after?
They're just trying to do the right thing.
That's what they all say. And yet somehow the right thing just doesn't ever get done, now does it? I can't speak for Ratasker, but what I can say about the AST is that they are nothing but garbage. They took years from me. They took everything from me. And then, when I didn't do what they wanted, they tried to cast me aside. So yeah, I'm pissed. I'm very pissed. And you could say that that stunt I pulled earlier, well, I was just using you. You see, my drone has been keeping track of you for a while now. Seeing another spirit appear, I thought that that was going to be my chance until you showed up. And I'm guessing the reason why you're here is to do what I could not. And that's to seal a spirit's power. Am I right? Shido couldn't believe it. How did he know? How did he know that that's what Shido was here for?
How do
I know? Because I was recruited for the same purpose. Well, I wouldn't say recruited, more like hoodwinked, bamboozled, if you would. You see, the AST, they've been trying to find people that could seal spirit power as well. It's not all about killing a spirit, although you might say that the entire AST doesn't know about it. There are a select few that do. And for those in the higher-ups that know what they're trying to do, well, they're after spirit power. They're trying to find those who are capable of sealing it away into themselves. Of course, I wasn't the only one, but at the same time, I wasn't a complete failure. You see, I can't seal a spirit's power. That much they made sure of. But I can do one thing. I can absorb it. I can absorb the power of the hermit.
What's the difference then?
Well, the difference is this. Leo would hold out his hand towards Shido. Shido flinched, almost as if he were expecting a blast of ice, but that's not what happened. Instead, Leo's entire left finger turned into ice.
What the?
Yeah, I can absorb it, but firing it back out, well, it doesn't go very far. In fact, it only ends up damaging me. So you could say that I'm a broken tool, if you will. But it wasn't all bad. I did learn that there are some things I can do. I can absorb the power of the hermit, the power of ice. It's the discharge that's the issue. You see, my body, it's just not capable of handling that. If I try to use this ice power, I only end up hurting myself. So I had to figure out another way. And that's when I came up with these. Ice cells. You see, I can slowly discharge the power stored up in my body into these ice cells. I then plug them into my gun, and there you go.
So, you're just using her?
Not at all. You see, the AST is going to come after her. I know this. I'm after the AST. So the way I see it, it's just a matter of time before both sides end up colliding. And I'm going to make sure that my side is the side that wins.
But she looked frightened. Don't you care about what you'll do to her?
You don't have to worry about her. I'm not gonna let anything happen. Besides, she's the power supply. It'd be a shame if I lost it. Shido got angry at hearing that. The idea that that poor girl was just going to be used. It was bad enough that the AST was trying to hunt her down. But now this guy, to fulfill his own vengeful vendetta, he was just going to use her to do the same thing. What about her and what she wanted? Don't bother trying to get out. He'll be stuck there for a while. By then, everything should be wrapped up.
What?
Oh, I'm going to take out the AST once and for all. Once I've done that, I'll hit their base next. They'll never see it coming.
You can't.
I don't really see anyone that's going to stop me. You're not going to be one of them. With that, Leo would bid him a farewell, leaving him in the warehouse trapped. He still had some preparations that he had to make, but he knew that everything would be done in due time. In the meanwhile, Rotarisker, once they had learned that Shido hadn't been found in a relatively reasonable amount of time, would begin the search for him. Tracking him wasn't that hard, they were just on their way to go get him. However, in the meantime, Yoshino, along with her hand puppet, Yoshinon, would make their way into the room where Shido was. She would place her hands on the ice and would free him. You freed me.
Yeah.
Why?
You know what
I do. But you still shouldn't suffer. I don't want that.
Then why?
Why help him? Because he was there for me.
What?
I didn't have anyone. No one tried to help me at all. But Big Brother Leo, he tried to help me. And I'm grateful. But I don't get it. He's just using you. You know that. He's in pain. He's lost so much.
What?
What happened? Those mean people. They lied to him. His mother was sick. He didn't have any way of helping her. But they offered to help her in exchange for his help. So he became their lab rat to try to save his mom. But the deal went bad. When he didn't do as they wanted, they cut him off. And what was worse, they had the chance to save her, but they pulled the plug. Shido would widen at the horror and the realization of it all. Leo had let himself be used, hoping that he could save his mother's life. However, when it was revealed that he couldn't be what they needed him to be, essentially what Shido is, they turned their back on him. And now even more so, he was being hunted. No wonder why he was angry. No wonder he wanted his revenge. But even still, this couldn't be the right way. The door would burst open as Leo made his way inside. He was angry at Yoshino for going in here when he specifically told her not to. And what was worse was that Shido was free. He pulled his gun from his side, ready to freeze him. However, the ceiling would cave in, as AST agents were now on the move. And Toka had arrived as well. She had hung around with Fraxinus because, well, she had nowhere to go. And hearing that that cold guy was gonna be there, well, she saw this as her opportunity. And before anyone could stop her, she came in sword blazing. Well, that three-way deadlock, it only heated up even further. The AST were after Snart, Snart was after the AST, Toka was just ready to hack away at everyone, and Shido tried to get Yoshino out of the way. As he donned back into his hero suit, he knew that this was going to be a tricky situation. On one hand, he couldn't help but sympathize with Leo and his situation. How could the AST do something so heartless? But at the same time, he couldn't just allow the agents to be killed. They didn't have anything to do with this. It were the higher-ups, from what he could presume. They were the ones responsible. And then there was Toka, who was the ultimate wild card in all of this. However, Snart was not someone who was going to go down so easily. As he used his ice gun, he took out the multitude of the soldiers that were coming after him. And he was holding his own against Toka rather well. That was until he came into conflict with Origami. Origami attempting to subdue him once and for all. You're under arrest, Snart. Your crimes, you're not going any further. My crimes, well, if I'm going down, then I think we can all go down together. As the fighting ensued even further, Shido would try his best to intervene between all three of them. Origami, she didn't want to fight Shido, but at the same time, Snart had to be taken in. At the same time, Snart was more than willing to take out all of them. And Toka, well, her skills with the blade were as deadly as ever. And if Shido hadn't intervened, some heads would have been rolling. However, the crucial moment came when a fellow sniper of the AST ended up shooting and hitting Snart in the side, causing him to fall over. As a result, Yoshino would lose control as she turned into a monstrous rabbit form, as her cold and powerful spirit energy would radiate all throughout the battlefield. The beast would cover over Snart, swiping away at the AST soldiers, as well as Shido and even Toka. Toka, in the midst of the fighting, trying to match with what Yoshino was putting out, would find her spirit power in flux as well. The alarms would be ringing, the potential for a double spatial quake, while even if they were far off from the city, that would only just cause far more damage. They might actually split Japan in half. Kotori would tell Shido from the Fraxinus ship he was going to have to get them under control and seal their power. Of course, that was easier said than done. As the spatial quake started to take form, Shido would hear a voice coming in. It was Dr. Wells. Shido, listen. The best way to subdue them is going to be to temporarily put them in a state of unconsciousness. And how do I do that? You're going to have to run around them in a circle. You're going to have to move fast enough that the air begins to thin out on the inside. If you do that, the beast and Toka should be subdued long enough for you to seal them. It's going to be a pretty big area. I don't know if I can go fast enough. You can go fast enough. You're a smart boy, but you have to be focused. Focus on one thing you want to do, a primary objective, and execute. You can do this, Shido. Now run! Shido would take a deep breath as he quickly opened his eyes, as Toka and as Yoshino were still stuck in relatively one spot. Shido ran around them. It seemed as though a large tornado was starting to form with the two inside. Slowly, the air within was starting to thin up, just enough to quell the beast. However, their power was still going out of control. As Snart slowly looked up, he could hear the screaming of Yoshino. Even though he wouldn't have wanted to admit it, the girl had grown on him. He viewed her like a sister, and he didn't want anything bad to happen to her, not for his own selfish reasons. Eventually, as they were quelled, and as the AST agents were slowly making their move, Leo would look towards Shido. "You can stop this, can't you?" Yeah, I can, but look, if you can stop it and get them out of here, I'll cover you." "No, the AST are after you. If you stay, you know what's going to... I know what's going to happen. I'm fine with it. Now go!" With no choice, Shido would rush over to the two girls. Their power was slowly starting to destabilize, and it seemed like a spatial quake was all but imminent. They asked Shido what to do, and Shido told them that they were going to have to seal away their power. Both girls looked at each other and then looked at Shido worriedly. He promised that he was going to be there, that he wasn't going to leave them alone. They'd be safe. After quickly thinking it over, the two girls would agree, each one kissing Shido. As a result, their power would begin to stabilize. It would start to be sealed away, and Shido would take it into himself. The alarms would slowly de-escalate, and seemingly all was well. The AST, along with their other branches, were sending in backup. Shido knew they had to get out of there fast, and Fraxinus had arrived. Shido and the girls would make their way to the ship, as Snart, who only had a few charges left in his gun, would fire it at the remaining members, slowing them down long enough for the girls and for Shido to get away. However, once they were safely out, and Snart knew he had nothing left, the only thing he could do was throw his hands in the air as he found himself surrounded. So much for revenge. I just had to go and try to play the hero. I guess I really am an idiot. Huh, Mom? The girls would be taken aboard Fraxinus. There was one other issue that Shido would have to deal with when it came to sealing away spirit power. For some reason, their clothes disappeared. Great. But there was also another issue on his mind, that of the AST. Shido would ask Kotori and Dr. Wells more about them, as he explained what he had learned from Yoshino. Kotori would then be a bit confused. The AST had pull, but they were still under operation of the government itself, and from what they had gathered, the government hadn't done any sort of illegal experiments or anything like that. Nothing that would have been related to Snart. But that left Shido confused. If the AST weren't responsible, then who was? In the meanwhile, at the AST holding cells, a man in a black suit would make his way inside, accompanied by his assistant. So, they managed to catch him. Yes, sir. Everything seemed to go relatively smoothly. Thanks for keeping me posted, Ellen. You've done such fine work. Continue. Yes, even though he was a failed experiment, he does have some promise. Is that right? The cell door would open, Snart being held in chains, as he looked up and saw a familiar face. Two, to be more precise. Well, well, well. If it isn't Ellen and His Highness, Sir Isaac Ray Perham. To what do I owe the pleasure of you greeting me in my humble abode? Save the pleasantries, Snart. You've been a busy, busy boy, haven't you? You've been attacking my facilities. You've even gone after the AST. Well, I figured it'd be the best way to get to you now, wouldn't it? To get to me? Oh, and I wonder what for? For this. Inside of Snart's mouth, one of his teeth, they were actually a false tooth. He plucked it out with his tongue, because inside of the tooth, it was a tiny ice grenade. And one that packed a hell of a punch. Hopefully, he thought that he could take his vengeance right here and now, as the person who was the ire of it all was foolish enough to actually show up to his cell. However, that didn't happen. Before it could even be activated, Snart found himself being slammed to the ground, Ellen covering his mouth. My, that was close. A partial deployment, but still, if he had managed to get this off, sir, it could have done some nasty damage. Ooh, this is fascinating. You know, that big brain of yours, you waste it on such trivial things. Even though you can't steal spirit power, you can still make some pretty good weapons off of what you absorb. Don't look at me like that. After all, you promised you'd do your best. You promised her you'd do your best. Before Snart could thrash anymore, Ellen would deliver a swift punch to his head, knocking him out. I want him shipped to our facilities ASAP. Understood. And I want to turn our attention to somewhere else. He would hold up a hollow screen, and on it, there would be a blur of red moving all about. This one intrigues me. What do we know about him? His name is Shido Itsuka. He's a young high schooler. For some reason, he seems to be showing up awfully a lot with spirits, and the two that we were tracking, the hermit and the princess, seemingly disappeared with him. Do you know why? Most likely Ratatasker. They're probably involved, but the fact that they got their hands on someone who can seal away spirit power, and someone with something else to offer, it definitely intrigues me. Shall we add him to being our top priority? No, not for now. I want to see more of what the young man can do. He's definitely piqued my interest.